Hey everybody, Jess Intuitive Angel Healer here with your Grounded. So much for joining our podcast today and welcome to another episode of Dancing in the Toxic Shadows, Finding Empowerment and Hope Through the Toxicity. This is a podcast that features an empowered soul swim through the toxic waters of life and how they have found the courage, strength, and blind faith used to obtain the life they truly want to live, and encourage others to take that leap of faith no matter if you can only see the first two steps or not. Today we have a very special guest, Cami Red. Hey, how are you?
I am awesome. Thank you for having me on your show today.
You are so welcome, my friend. I love your story and your journey. Now,
I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I currently live in Tyler, Texas.
I was born in Abilene, Texas, so you know exactly where that's at.
Yes, I do.
I know you do, because like Tyler, it's like a hop, skip, and a jumping away.
Right next door almost, yeah.
That's also, I was like, hey, got to get another fellow Texas girl in here to share. Now, you are a few things. You're a holistic healthcare worker, and that's where you probably started out, and then you probably went into your holistic stuff, but you're a whole bunch of things. You just became a yoga teacher and a published author. So I'm going to hand it over to you, and I want to hear all about your journey of changing, living in the toxic shadows, and even having a cancer scare to coming out here. And I got chills right. My angels are definitely here to hear this wonderful story. So go ahead and tell us all about it, Cami.
So let me tell you a little bit about me and how I got started. I've actually been a chef for over 20 years. So food has always been a love of mine. It's always been the love of my life. I lived in Vegas. I worked in Vegas as a chef. I've cooked at some of the most famous restaurants in the area, Emerald's, Wolfgang's. I came up through the era of food is love type of situation. Now, so I've worked in some of the most well-known restaurants in the Las Vegas area. Well, my journey was not so flowing into this world. I was diagnosed with breast cancer about 7 years ago, and I couldn't cook anymore. So I had to figure out, and one of the things, and I'm Southern, as you heard me say, I'm from Atlanta, born and raised. I live in Texas now, so you know how us Southerners are when it comes to food.
Yes.
Food,
Everything's fried.
it's fried and it's big, okay? So food is the love of our lives. Well, developing breast cancer, I actually had to retrain myself on how I thought about food. I worked in some of the most high-class restaurants in the Las Vegas area, but my journey into healing wasn't such an easy flow. About 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and food has always been the love of my life. Again, like I stated, I'm Southern. I'm from Georgia. I live in Texas. It's fried, it's big, it's dipped in butter, it's
Everything unhealthy for you is good.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
saying.
So I went back to school actually to get my degree, this time not in culinary science, but in nutritional science. So I became a registered dietitian nutrition. And instead of staying out west, it became my mission to move back to the South. So went back to Georgia because that's where I'm from. And I wanted to teach people how they could actually eat the same things that we're used to eating, but eat it in a different way. So you can have the fried chicken. It's just really not deep frying it. It's more about baking it and what you bread it in so that it doesn't release those same toxins that the normally deep fried chicken releases in your body. And people don't even realize, our relationship with food isn't just the way we eat. it's also what we're eating. It's what we're putting in our bodies. It's not just the toxic behaviors of the emotional eating, it's toxicity of your body through eating a lot of processed, a lot of unnatural items as well. Figuring out how I developed cancer had a lot to do with me understanding the toxic levels of different chemicals in the foods that we actually consume on a regular basis.
I can totally understand that, because when I was going to school to be a medical assistant, my teacher for my medical assistant training actually went through breast cancer and told me that when you come out of cancer, it's not like you just go back to normal life. You can't have certain things because that will trigger you to have more things. So she told me that the way that she made it through her chemo is some nice soul told her to eat a bunch of vitamin C to help with that, and that's actually what helped carry her through her whole chemo, to not like get super sick and make it through. So that's crazy. Like, her angels hooked her up, and some people don't know that. They don't know that you can't just go eat regular chicken. They think you're being hard or tough or difficult. No, if I eat that, I'm literally going to get cancer again.
And that's what the fight has been, not just on my end, but also because I'm a nutritionist. That's usually my fight with just my general patients. Just trying to express to them and show them that you cannot eat what you think is okay every day. I'm not saying throw away your eating habits. What I'm saying is
Change them.
moderate them. Yeah, moderate them. You can't eat fried chicken every day. There are toxic chemicals in the flour, in the oil that we use. Those chemicals combined with the chemicals in your body are what cause the cancer cells to form in your body. So for me, I'm very mindful. As you'll see me take a sip every now and then, I have a green smoothie right here. I'm always mindful of what I'm putting in my body, how much of it I'm putting in my body, and where it came from. That's always important as well, because you have to know where your food comes from in order to know what it is you're exactly consuming.
That is so very true. And I have noticed the problem, because I did a TED talk on this when I was in school about the obesity rate. And I've noticed how, I just kind of looked, why are people getting so fat from in the last 10 years, 10, 20 years? And I started looking at it, and I actually was just on a podcast earlier today talking about that my change of habits, because when I went on my spiritual awakening in 2017, it you don't do it right away. It eventually comes. I didn't think it would happen, but about 5 months ago, I stopped eating meat, and not because it's something you do in your spiritual, it's because your brain starts clicking open and you're like, well, hello. And you start learning that a lot of things that we're told all our life are lies. And my world fell down on me when I watched all these documentaries and started figuring out the truth, because I've always thought they were conspiracy theories. I always thought this was a big hoopla and everybody was in on it and whatever. I'm not going to be a part of it. So I just ignored it. But I had a scare where I went to go get a pap smear, and everybody gets an abnormal one once or twice in their life. Usually it's not a big deal. I've never had an abnormal one, but usually it's come back a year later. Mine was, hey, come back in a couple weeks. We're doing a colposcopy. And I was scared shitless. I was like, what did you guys find? Because I got a medical background. I know what's going to happen next if you're over there looking for stuff. Well, they found a mass, and that scared the crap out of me. And they said that they're just going to watch it. It was non-malignant, thank God. But that made me, I've been smoking since I was 12, and I literally stopped smoking cigarettes because I was so scared that I had that cancer scare, that I was like, I'm not going to continue to make it worse. And when they told me it was not non-malignant, I was like, well, I better stop right now, because my angel said, if you keep on, guess what? We're going to make it malignant and have fun with that.
Well, see, that's the thing. We have to start listening to our bodies. Our bodies actually give us the the symptoms. They tell us how they're feeling. They give us signs of when we are in disarray. They give us signs of when we're healthy. They give us little, signs here and there just to say, hey, you need to do this. For instance, sometimes eating too much meat will cause you to get super lethargic. Some
Yeah.
people don't even realize that's an overabundance of protein in your body. That's not good for you. So sometimes it's good to lay off meat for a while and
Mhm.
just allow your body to digest natural plant-based items. That's great, because what it's doing is it's actually allowing your body to detox itself naturally. It's not you having to put it through a rigorous detox program. It's you actually just pulling back, de-stressing your body, allowing it to release the toxins that it has consumed over time, and just allowing the natural process of what fruit and vegetables actually do to our body to heal our body.
Yeah, I can tell a noticeable difference in my body with my health. And it was just, and then changing, like I don't use vegetable oil. I use like avocado oil, and I use natural oils because I know that not all oils are unhealthy. And actually, if you have depression, eating an avocado a day is going to help kick your
It helps
depression.
with the serotonin. Yes, it
It's
does.
it's the fattiness. It's kind of like why people take fish oil, because it's those fats.
it,
It's when you
it
drink.
feeds your brain. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just like feeding a baby. Everybody knows that when you feed a baby breast milk, they're getting all that fat, right? And it's feeding
Yep.
their brain. So why do people think just because when you turn one, your brain needs to stop? And so I've looked back on my eating habits and I'm like, what have I put in my body, and why for all those years did I allow that to
So
happen?
here's the thing that we don't think about, and in women especially. Have you ever noticed that about midway throughout the day, you get like this brain fog where you're feeling like, oh my God, I can't concentrate, I can't focus, my thinking isn't quite clear? That's always when we feel like we need to meditate the most just to focus ourselves. But we forget that we also need to provide our bodies with nutrients. We need to eat the right things. We should start our morning out giving our bodies the right foods, because if you put too much heavy stuff in your body, what you're going to do is you're going to cause your body to do this huge spike and then go down this huge
Mhm.
hill. So you're going to eat all this meat and all this sweet sugary food, and you're going to be super full of energy and high up here, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the day, your body's going to do this and come right back down. And that's because there's no balance. Your eating habits. I always put my clients on an eating schedule, and I tend to give them meat at the beginning of the day and none throughout the day. So if they're meat eaters, they eat meat for breakfast, and then throughout the day we give them little nutrients and snacks and things like that. But I'm not feeding their body in this situation. Most of the time throughout the day, in the middle of the day, those little snacks and things that you need, those are actually feeding your brain. So
Exactly.
an avocado about halfway between breakfast and lunch will actually give you the brain power you need to last and keep going throughout the day.
Exactly. And I'm proof, because I have literally noticed a whole change in just, I don't feel bloated no more. And I've
Mm,
also learned that when you don't eat healthy food, so when you don't eat like nutrient dense food, vegetables and stuff,
yeah.
your stomach, um, so all the food's going in there and it's got these like little tickers, and it says when it's full, when it's reached its level. When you put potato chips in there, your stomach never tells you it's full because it never touched on those tickers. Now if you ate like a whole bunch of spinach and broccoli and stuff, that would fill you up, and you'd have one salad and you're like, ooh, I'm full. But when you eat junk food or anything that's not
Well,
good,
it's not giving your body any nutrients. So it's not
yeah,
reading, it's actually putting food into your body. That's why it's
exactly.
called junk food, because it literally is that. It's
It's
junk.
just piling up, and
Yeah.
there's literally nothing to say, hey, because when you eat healthy stuff, it fills it up. It says, no more, guys, I'm full. And you're like, I'm full. But with like any cookies, that's why you can sit there and eat a whole bag of cookies and go, oh crap, I ate a whole bag of cookies. Because it never hit your,
It
now you
never
just feel sick.
registered.
That's when you stop eating.
Yeah. You never registered in your body. But here's the other part of that. It never registers that you're giving your body food. However, those food items that you're eating, or what we like to call food-based products like cookies and chips and things like that, what they're doing is they're not registering in your body as nutrients, but they are registering in your body in other ways. They're registering with sugar. They're registering with unhealthy fats. It's registering with the chemical makeup of some of these products. So if these products are made from white sugar or unnatural bleach processed sugar, think of all of the chemicals that went into making that. Your body is getting those chemicals, but not the nutrients that it needs to help actually maintain the immune system and keep it strong so that it can fight whatever disease is going to come about from the mixing of those chemicals with your body's natural chemical makeup.
Nice. So how long have you been on your journey now as a health practitioner?
For 7 years. Luckily, like I stated, having cancer opened my mind up. I've always been happy to feed people, to cook for people, just give them food, because as a chef, you get joy from people eating your creations.
Yes.
But being a nutritionist and being a holistic healthcare provider has opened my eyes to so many different ways that we can utilize food, not just for our body, but for our mind and our spirit, and just for the soul. Even with, in meditation and in prayer, we utilize food in so many different ways. Just giving it back to our body and giving our bodies the right types of food have been what my goal has been with anyone and everyone I meet. It's been a journey of just spreading the message of quote unquote eating clean, or coming out of the boxes and cans and jars and going back to a natural state of being. On one of my podcasts, because I host a podcast as well, I did a topic, it's called the Great Wheat Debate. And I talk about when food changed in the United States and in other countries. People often ask about, this gluten-free fad and, all of these different things that came about, but they don't know why. Well, a lot of our food is genetically modified. Wheat changed in 1960. So we have to be very careful about how much wheat we actually consume, because as you stated about that bloat, when they changed the wheat germ, the type of wheat
Yeah.
germ that they introduced to us also causes bloat and buildup in our system and in our body. It's not the type of wheat that our ancestors are used to eating. It's not the type of wheat that they grew out the ground and grind up. And it's not that type of meat. The corn isn't even the same that they had in those days as well. So we have to be mindful of that also. So even as I push and say, eat healthy, eat from the earth, eat plant-based as well, we need to be mindful that some of the things that, are plant-based, some of the things that are of the earth have been slightly genetically modified by man, just to make it sustainable or for other purposes. So don't eat it as much. So like things to stay away from eating or consuming in heavy amounts would be wheat, corn, things that have been genetically modified. Some meat, if those of you that are meat eaters, some of the meat that is processed in the stores are actually genetically modified as well. So there are a number of things that we actually have to pay attention to when it comes to toxic eating.
Exactly. And it gets really confusing. And I was actually embarrassed because I just found this out like literally 6 months ago. Well, this is when I started I'm actually going to stop eating meat, because unbeknownst to people, doctors aren't given the nutritional training, and neither I know what's, I have a good sense of, what's wholesome and not. But when it comes down to the details of reading a stupid nutrition label, those things, I'm like, I don't know, bananas. I don't know what it says because it's like, and most of it's lies. So why even read it, really, to be
Yeah.
honest? And so I started watching these documentaries because if I don't know something, I want to know. I want to get knowledge for myself because I think you're ignorant. That's where ignorance comes from. If you just want to assume something, well, that's what assume means. So I learn, and I started watching all these documentaries, and I started seeing what really got me was, why is my meat got over 500 antibiotics before it gets to me? What in the world was that chicken running in that it needed that much?
Yeah, that's what my thing is. We really think about what's being ingested? And we talk about meat, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it's
It's
not just
everything.
meat, it's
It's
everything.
everything.
Even with the plant, the amount of pesticides and amount of chemicals that they spray on our products, it's enough. Like when I first got cancer, the thing that scared me the most was my diet. It was eating. It was because you get this, the doctors give you this list of things to watch out for, to stay away from, list of toxic ingredients, a list of toxic fruits and vegetables. So needless to say, when you're looking at this, you're looking like, oh my God, what can I possibly eat that isn't going to make me sick again? Because you have to think about everything from the amount of pesticides sprayed on a single strawberry to the amount of antibiotics pumped into that chicken
Yeah.
that you just cut into pieces to put into a stew. All of that is a thought that has to go through your mind. So then now shopping for groceries becomes a chore because you have to go in and you have to find products, which it is very hard to do unless you're shopping at a farmer's market where it's a local farm and you know exactly what you're getting. But it's very hard to find products that have not been sprayed with pesticides, products that are not doused in some type of chemical to preserve it, products that are not saturated in sodium or salt or baked with nothing but sugar or butter or margarine.
It's nuts. And you know what? It is true. I agree with our food is not the same as it was in the 50s. They literally went in there, and that's where the genetically modified, when they started messing with how they could make a certain strain of corn or
Mhm.
strain of wheat. That's what they did, and that's what really, I got really angry for a couple of days, and then I was angry at myself, and I felt like I went through this whole, like, somebody, like, I was at a funeral with myself because I was like, what, why am I so stupid? And then, you feel stupid because you're ingesting all this, and I have medical knowledge, but no, I'm not the only one, because it makes it that hard that they literally came out with a project called non-GMO, and it
Yeah,
has a little butterfly on it,
yeah.
and if that's on your food, that's the only way it's not genetically modified.
Food is so screwy and so wonky. And it's hard to explain to people. Being a
Yeah.
nutritionist opened my eyes to just how hard it is for people to understand food and understand eating. Having to walk people through the process of retraining everything you thought you knew about food and showing you all of the lies.
Yeah, and that's
It's
hard to accept. Like, I felt lied to, like, my whole life. I felt let down because I've always been told, be a good American, do this. And I've always followed the rules and went with everything. And then all of a sudden one day I got told that I've been lied to, but I've been, supporting a lie. And I was like, well, good job, Jesse. Like, it offended me a little bit. But now that's why I'm such a big deal on sharing with people, because it's not that hard to eat better, but you need to have some support around you, because the biggest thing is people make fun of you. And I just, it clicked on me. There's this stupid grocery store commercial, and it talks about the guy's making a green smoothie like you're drinking. And why do they have the guy in pink tights and he's got a ponytail and a green jazzercise leotard? Okay, I don't really appreciate that, first of all. And they play this over and over. And then when he's making the smoothie, it says, and whatever that is. And I was like, why does it? That is exactly why people won't change their habits, because you get made fun of. And it's not everybody's going to be like me and say, I don't care what you think. Most people are going to be like, okay.
Well, people make fun of what they don't understand. And
Exactly.
what I realized is with this past pandemic, this disease that broke out, people were, I want to say our government, we're just lied to across the board, period.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily just our government, it's just people lie. So faced with having to be healthy versus having to eat what you want, the bigger business is being pleasurable or is in pleasure. So people always promote pleasure over necessity first. So if I'm telling you to eat right, that means I want you to be a better person. But if I'm telling you to eat unhealthy, that means I'm going to allow you to just eat and consume all of the stuff that I've made up in this entire world. Because we got a world of fast food restaurants out here. Now that's big business for people.
I really understand that, though. It just made me, that's the thing. And but the reason why commercials like that exist is because it's not necessarily the government. It is food companies out there. It's big money, these commercials, to have you buy their stuff. So
well, see, here's the flip side of that too. Let's talk in medical terms. It's big business for you to be sick. There's huge money in healthcare, okay? Huge money in medical. So if I tell you the cure to all of your ailments is for you to change your diet, then I'm gonna go out of business. But if I continue to make fun of people who are eating healthy, then in your mind, you're going to think, you know what, I'm just going to do what I want to, just like everybody else. So you're going to continue to eat junk. You're going to continue to stay unhealthy. You're going to continue to get sick. It's all the circle of quote unquote societal life. It's eat, get sick, go to the doctor, take medicine, take more medicine, get more sick, eat, get sick, and nobody's telling you in this process that all you have to do is change the way you eat.
exactly. You just gotta, it's all about change. It's changing small things too. You don't have to go all crazy, but
oh my God, no. That is the hugest thing that I tell people, especially a lot of my clients. The biggest and easiest way to fail at anything is trying to do it all at once and go cold turkey. When it comes to these eating habits, take it one day at a time. So if sugar is your issue, then just go one day without eating sugar, or maybe 1 hour.
Moderation.
It's moderation. If meat is your issue, slim down your meat to once or twice a week. Don't go completely cold turkey unless you have in your mind, you have the willpower and the strength to make this happen. Now, otherwise, just slowly wean yourself off of it, because you're going to run into two things. It's going to be withdrawals from it. So it's just like any other addiction or any other drug. You're going to want it. You're going to have cravings. You're going to have withdrawals. You're going to have meat sweats because your body's going to want the meat. Just all kinds of different things.
My biggest thing was bacon. I looked at the bacon and I knew I was done eating meat when I looked at it. And I actually ate a little piece because it was like my last day before I officially quit, because I don't want to have that regret. I don't have it. If I'm going to have a regret, I'm just going to do it because I don't want to carry that regret. So I ate it and I was like, you know what? I'll be okay. This is like my last goodbye. But I felt like I could, it's something that you kind of, after you detox,
yeah,
like anything else, you're like, yeah, I don't miss it. I don't miss Diet Coke anymore either.
When you wean yourself off of something, you don't miss it as much as you do when you actually go cold turkey off of it.
What was your breaking moment that made you say enough is enough, and you ditched your toxic eating habits and decided to, because it doesn't just all happen at one time. People get painted a different picture than what happens.
Yeah. Well, mine happened in two phases. I've always been a heavy woman. Again, I'm Southern. We know what that looks like. I was always walking around carrying all of this weight. I moved out west. I moved to the hottest place in the United States. I moved to Las Vegas.
I
It
live
was
there.
yeah, it was 120 degrees on the day that we moved to Vegas. That was my first time saying enough is enough. That was when I first changed my eating habits, because I don't know if you understand what it's like to be heavy and live in a place that is 120 degrees.
I do, unfortunately. I was 200. I became 215 pounds when I was pregnant. And my
Yeah.
ex decided to take me to St. Louis, Missouri, Six Flags. I look like a beached whale out there, okay? Like,
Yeah.
it was not a pretty day. I even had a heat stroke.
Yeah, like that was the first time. I lost a lot of weight. I lost an immense amount of weight. I lost about 75 pounds then. The second time was actually when I was coming off of my weight loss journey, period. And it was when I was diagnosed with cancer. And that opened my eyes to the fact that even though I thought I was eating healthy, there was still things that I was putting in my body that contained chemicals that were causing the cancer cells to be developed even more. And if I continued to eat that way, they would spread throughout my entire body.
That
So
is so scary.
yeah, so there were two things that made me say enough is enough. The first one was the weight in Vegas, 120 degrees. The second one was my health. And the second time, it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about everyone at this point. It was, okay, I can show you how to lose weight and all of this, but no, that's not what I want to do. I want to show you how to heal and prevent diseases in your body with food.
That's awesome that you are learning how to do this. My friend actually went through a similar, his blood pressure was triple digits over, it was just crazy. It was like 200 over 150. And I told him, you are going to have a freaking stroke. Please take your medicine. And he was like, no, because he started going on a spiritual path. He went on it before me, so I didn't understand. I just thought he was out of his mind. He told me, I am not going to take medicine. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to change it that way. And I was like, sure you are. And so I didn't understand that. And now I understand, you know what? High five for not listening to me and getting on that medicine, because he actually did change his eating.
Yeah.
And even though that's scary, and I don't, if you ever have that, those are stroke levels, by the way.
You have to remember that coming off of medication, that medicine, okay, two things have to happen. Your body has to detox from the foods that you have eaten, but your body also has to detox from the medication that you have been taking. So yes, his blood pressure is going to
No,
go
he
back
didn't
up.
take it. He was supposed to be put on it. He
Yeah.
didn't want to take it at all. He refused. He said, I am not going to take nothing. And I was mad because I was actually a medical assistant, and I didn't understand at that moment. Like, what are you were crazy. Are you trying to kill yourself? But now
I'm one of those. Every time my clients, like I got a client who called me the other day, and she says, my 16-year-old daughter was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and they want to put her on metformin.
I don't believe in that.
I was like, oh, absolutely not. I said, here's a diabetic meal plan. Run that through there with her for about 30 days. Change the way you guys eat everything. Take this out of her diet and don't do this, and you'll be fine. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I said, don't give her metformin at all.
Exactly. So see, I didn't understand. I just know when I know that you're that high level, you can have a stroke at any minute. So it scared me. I thought he was just losing his mind. But then I understood that, because I didn't understand. This is what this whole podcast is that people don't understand when they're going through it, or when their minds aren't open yet to the holistic thing. They think it's a bunch of hoopla because they don't understand it. So you don't understand it. But now that he told me that, Now that I look back on it, Jimmy, if you're out there, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you, but I'm happy you didn't listen to me. So it's mutual, and I still love you, and it's all
No,
right.
see, you thought you were giving him advice from a medical standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
so you were thinking I'm
But I was
doing
doing
you a
good things.
solid. Yeah, but you didn't understand his journey, and what he was telling you was, I don't want to put anything toxic in my body. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if it's supposed to be good for me or not. I don't care if it's supposed to help me or not. There are other ways.
What he told me, and I think it's funny. Good for you, because like I said, I just went on my spiritual journey in 2017, and my biggest problem my whole life was my crown chakra has been closed and my third eye. So those two things, your crown is where you receive the messages, and your third eye is where you're able
Yep.
to see outside of the box. And so when those are both closed, that's when you know you're talking to a closed-minded person, because they don't understand anything outside the realm of the box. Who or what did you use as a source of motivation to keep you going on your journey? And do you have any personal recommendations for our audience?
Me, motivation are my kids, as with anything else. It's more about, as you see, I have a 3-year-old, and it's more about keeping up with the 3-year-old and keeping my work-life balance equal and same. Advice for people would be more so just stay the course. Even if you fall off the horse, even if you have some issues, even when your mind is telling you, do something different. One of the biggest things that I like to do is go back and look at my journals as a reminder of where I've come from to where I am now. Journal about it, write it down, acknowledge that thought that's right there, and then allow it to move on. It doesn't have to stay. Any negative thought that you have, try to counteract it with a positive one. So if you're telling yourself, you know what, I want to eat a cheeseburger right now, then instead of wanting that cheeseburger, say to yourself, if I eat this cheeseburger, this is what's going to happen in my life. What can I substitute, or what can I eat in place of this cheeseburger that will be just as filling for me, but also healthy for me?
That is very good advice to give. What do you do for a daily self-care routine? What would that look like in your life to keep your mind, body, and soul balanced since your whole experience with your cancer scare? And you're still cancer-free, right?
Yes, I have been 5 years cancer free as
High
of
five.
July 17th this year. So I'm super excited about that. Live just as well as what I teach. I wake up every morning, I meditate, I do yoga, I eat healthy. I do this very same things that I teach my clients to do. I affirm my day. I tell myself what is going to be like today, how I'm going to be. I write down, I plan everything. So I have meal journals. I have a meal plan. Because I have kids, I also do a weekly menu, because it lets them know what we're going to have and what we're going to eat. But it also teaches them those same healthy habits that we want to teach adults as well. So for me, my day looks like, to be honest, well balanced now.
Well, because that's the biggest thing. I always tell people, your thing is food, and food brings us together. My boyfriend's a chef, and he has the same similar thing. He went meat free with me. So it's all about learning how to make food
Yes.
taste good, make it taste good. And you don't tell yourself you're going on a diet either. Tell yourself you're having a lifestyle change,
And I
because
was just
that
going to
will,
say, we don't use the word diet. That's a no-no
that's
for
a
us.
4-letter word in
Yeah,
my
that's
world.
like a curse word for us. We don't use the word diet. This is a lifestyle change. This is a choice that we're making. This is not something that is a trend. This is not a fad. This is not going to happen quickly. This is not something that you're going to do just for a short amount of time. This is meant to save your life, keep you healthy mentally mentally, physically, and spiritually. So just think of it the same way that you exercise your body, the same way that you practice your spiritual practices is the same way you have to think about food. And
what you put in your body, we're like plants. We're really like walking, talking plants.
yes,
You
we
wouldn't
are.
go feed your plant a soda. So why we put sodas, we might as well just get the bag of sugar and just drink it.
I was just getting ready to say, you just made such a valid point. The way you just explained that, if you wouldn't give your plant a soda, why would you put it in your body?
Mm-hmm. I haven't understood. Humans, I think we're silly, but some things I'm just like, I can't wrap my brain around. It's kind of like, why do we drive on parkways and park on driveways? Who came up with that? What does your journey look like now that you've taken your power back from the toxic shadows and its inhabitants? Because I see good things. You just got certified as a yoga instructor, correct?
Yes, I did. And I am
Five.
super excited about that. I just went through a program with my Vinyasa where I am being certified as a 200-hour yoga teacher. That's not my final step. When I'm fully done with that program, I'm actually moving forward with them to become a yoga therapist, because what I do right now as far as nutrition, holistic health care, it's all a circle. Helping people with maintaining their weight, helping people with relieving their bodies of these ailments, helping people with, just eating right and eating properly. This is all. What's crazy is I was already utilizing some of the yoga practices in what I do for business. So now it's all encompasses everything. So now I'll be teaching meditation, yoga, and nutrition, but it's all for the purposes of nutritional education.
That's so awesome, though, because that is such a way to inspire people. And if you're in Tyler, Texas, that's why people like yourself are there, because you're the light worker that came to change that dense mindset. But since you're from there, they're your people and they're going to listen to you. And I feel like that's why people listen to me, because I'm a very humble person. And no matter how rich and famous I ever make it in my life, I know where I come from and I know how to talk to people. And if people would just learn to stop using, kind of like, I'm a spiritual grounding coach and people come to me and they've been in therapy for 20 years. Now, how is it in a month that I have broken through their inner child issues and we're working on creating their new business? That tells me that you aren't correctly explaining stuff to people. And that's why I'm glad we have you out there to give the message correctly.
And for me, I've taken the I've taken the medical terminology out of it. I've started to speak to people on a level that they actually understand. Because when you start using those big words and things like that, then people don't really understand and they're not going to listen to what it is that you have to say.
People not understanding stuff, that's the biggest thing. That's why I'm excited about, if you don't understand it, just because people shake their head, yes, I understand, because my clients do that to me all the time and say, yes, I understand. I have them repeat it back to me, because 9 times out of 10, if they'll say, no, I didn't. And then you're like, okay, cool, because there's no judgment here, but I need to make sure. And that comes from being a medical assistant, because it's important to know how to take your medicine, because if I don't explain it to you right, you might accidentally, and a pediatrician told me this, he didn't explain it correctly. They put it in the back end and not in the mouth, because they thought it was an insert and it was supposed to be inserted in your mouth. So yeah, that's very important.
I tend to explain things to people as if I'm talking to a child. And then I'll ask them, now tell me what I just said to you. Because you already know, once you ask somebody to repeat it, they're either going to be honest with you or not. They're going to say, oh, well, no, I didn't understand it. Or, yeah, this is what you said, and this is how I interpret it. So getting people to have right knowledge, so to speak, is really important for me. Just giving them the right information, the right tools that they need in order to be successful on this transformation journey is what it's all about for me. And the crazy part about it is I'm still learning and growing. So as I still learn and grow, I'm always sharing new and more information with the people around me.
Exactly. And that's how you grow, and that's how you become healthier. It's not exactly going out and running 10 miles and hiking a mountain. No, it's about feeding your body good stuff, doing things for yourself, doing self-care is such a big thing. You know, watching TV, the things that we watch. I used to watch movies and now I can't watch them because they irritate me. I don't find them funny anymore. And I've watched them for over 20 years and it's crazy. Now I'm like, I don't even like that. It's not funny.
Once you change your life and once your perspective changes on many levels, the same things that you used to enjoy you don't enjoy anymore. It's that way in life, and it's that way in with food. So those same toxic things, or the items that would introduce toxicity to your life, for instance, listening to a certain type of music, watching a certain type of TV, or eating a certain type of food, you're no longer attracted, and you actually no longer want to engage in those things anymore once you have come to a deeper understanding of what it is that you were supposed to be, how you were supposed to be in life.
Exactly. And I do want to touch on this. I'm about to wrap this up, but I wanted to touch on this, that for those of you out there that are having a weight struggle, because that's like the biggest thing in America is weight. I understand it. I was a fat kid. I was picked on because I was short. My family used to tell me stuff like when I ate bagels, they had people, you know, looking back, us as parents, I don't even know what we tell our kids sometimes, but my whole family decided that since I was short and chubby when I was like 11, that they were so afraid of me being a fat child that while I'm putting, and don't do this to your kids ever, because I still have trauma from it. I have a thing with food now, because when I ate, they told me I was going to get fat. Don't eat too many of those. You're going to get fat.
Oh
I
no,
don't
you
know.
should never, never, never use those words with your children.
So in the 80s, so there's a lot of things that we shouldn't have done back then, but this is why I'm mentioning this, because I'm 39 years old and I still have a problem with
Yeah.
eating in front of people because well, sometimes if I'm hungry, I don't care, but I have been notorious, like I'll go take my plate and I'll go eat away from people because I feel like you're judging me while if I have too much food on my plate. And it's been a constant thing throughout my life of food problems because unkind people and people that didn't understand, hey, you're going to grow up, you're going to grow out of that. So when I hit 12 and I did, they were like, oh, and they weren't worried anymore, but they didn't consciously understand that they were even saying that to me. They were trying to love me as parents do. And we tell our kids stuff and then you're like, why did I
Oh
even
no,
say
it's
that?
funny you say that because I often tell the story like to I told my patient this not too long ago. I said, when I first lost weight, this is the part that got me. When I first moved back to the South and I'd lost all of that weight, because at my heaviest, I was a size 24. So when I lost all of that weight and came back home a size 10, my grandmothers looked at me and told me that I looked sick.
Oh, and
But
that's another thing that happens.
check this out. When I stayed in the South and I started to put on a little more weight, or I gained maybe a few more pounds, I went from a 10 to a 12, my grandmothers reminded me.
It's a double-edged sword there,
Yeah,
so that's why I can't hate you, Grandma. I already know that you were just trying to love me, but I think it's so
yeah,
funny that we do stuff and say stuff and we don't even acknowledge, hey, we
yeah,
just screwed up our kid's
yeah.
life.
So no, those are some of the things that we just have to be mindful of as adults, that when we're speaking to kids, we have to speak in words of kindness, words of love. The same way we teach ourselves, we need to be able to teach them as well. So you can't call your kids fat. You don't tell them to pull away from the table because what they're eating is too much. What you do is you do it in a loving way.
If you're struggling though, just know that don't beat yourself up. My biggest point here of this whole story is to not beat yourself up, because all this food that you're like, why can't I give up this, is so hard, because it's addicting. It's actually hitting receptors in your brain. Sugar, and this is crazy, sugar actually hits the same receptor that heroin hits.
I was
when the feeling.
Food is just like any other drug. It can be substituted for alcohol. It can be substituted for cocaine. It can be substituted for heroin. It can be substituted for anything.
Because it gives you the same feeling.
It gives you that same pleasure feeling in your body. One of the top two industries in the world are food and sex. Those are the top two industries because they deal with pleasure receptors. Those particular things are things that actually cause your body different endorphins, different chemicals to be produced in your body. Eating a certain type of food, that's why you break food down into flavors. You have things like sweet, salty, umami, sour. The reason you have those things is because those are the different receptors that it's actually hitting in your body when you're eating it.
I love talking to you. This has been such a great conversation, and I'm really glad you can share your journey, because I feel it's so important to have. I've had a lot of guests lately be on here that have been talking about food with me lately, and I think it's because I've been on my journey of changing my food. I used to smoke and drink Diet Coke, and I'm over there being a medical assistant. You're seeing me smoking a cigarette, drinking a Diet Coke, and then I come in there to take your blood pressure. You know how it is, most of us in the healthcare field. And then to top it off, you get like a 5-second break maybe in between patients, because there's no, if you're like in a hospital setting, of course, you're going to be, there may not be a break for the days. I'm really happy that you're out here doing this and sharing your message, because people really need this right now. What guidance would you give fellow beautiful souls out there that are doing a similar toxic dance?
It's more so about believing in yourself, staying true, trying to just maintain the proper nutrition. You're gonna have some setbacks. When you have those setbacks, it's okay. Don't come down hard on yourself. Just pick up the next day and move forward. We all have points of weaknesses. We all have points where we fall back into old habits. As long as it's not you staying in those old habits for a month at a time, maybe it's just that one day. It's the same with those fleeting thoughts. Allow those thoughts to come, let them pass, and keep moving forward in a positive way. And moving forward in a way that's best for your body.
Now, where can everybody reach you if they want to hire you or just chat with you or follow your podcast?
Well, I am online. My website is NRI Wellness. Now, I'm on social media everywhere under Chef Cami Red or NRI Wellness. You can reach out to me. I also have an online health food store. My podcast is called 10 Dimensions of Wellness. On Spotify, it's on Pandora, it's on Anchor FM, it is on YouTube.
Well, that's where you can find Cami if you want to have this awesome nutritionist lady as your coach to help you fix your toxic eating habits. So thank you so much. Go ahead.
Now, let me say this. I also do crystal healing, and for those of you who believe in the metaphysical ways of doing things, we can also discuss ways that you can incorporate crystals, mantras, meditation into your weight loss journey as well.
Yeah, and that's where the yoga part comes in. A lot of my viewers are part of the metaphysical world because, you know, I'm just intuitive angel healer. So they're on the wrong podcast if they don't want to hear about angels, because that's what we talk about all the time. I love it. I love your spirit, and I'm so glad that you came in to share, because I know this message is going to get out to the people that really need to hear it. The angels will make sure of that. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for coming out here and
Thank you
sharing your
for
message.
having me on. I really feel so grateful. Thank you so much for even inviting me to be a part of this.
No worries. You have to be a part of this. You're an awesome nutritionist, coach, and yoga person. We got to have you and your perspective. All right, there you have it, beautiful souls. Another powerful guest that has learned to survive their swim, the toxic waters, and break up with their toxic partner, fear. If you need help trying to find a new dance partner, please reach out to myself or to Cami, and let us show you how a single 4-letter word can change your mindset permanently. And that 4-letter word is love. With love, all things are possible. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dancing in the Toxic Shadows. Until we meet again, this is Jess, Intuitive Angel Healer, sending healing angel vibes. Love and light, everybody. Take care.